Hey friends, Megan McIntosh here. Welcome to this video. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great Monday so far. And today I want to talk to you about handling and overcoming objections. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to share with you 5 objection handling techniques that are going to help you close the sale. So if you're there live, let me know. Please drop a 1 down below in the comments if you're watching right now. And if you're watching the replay, let me know. You can also drop something in the comments. You can put a 2 down below. You can write #replay. Let me know where you're coming in from, what city, what town, what country, all that fun stuff. I'm actually outside of the city. Got away from the city. I needed a little bit of a break. So we are about 3 hours away in this town called Kingston. And so it's a bit east of the Toronto area. So that's where we are right now, just for a couple days. We're here for the weekend. We're going to be going back to the city probably tomorrow. So here you go. So here we go. I'm going to grab my notes because I wrote some things down in terms of objection handling. Now, if you're someone that is new to sales or you've been doing sales for a long time, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be objections, right? It doesn't matter if you've been doing it for a long time. Anytime that you speak with someone that's a potential client or customer, they might have some questions and things that they're going to ask you before you get the sale. And I think that there's different things that you can do before the sale to really help you handle objections. And it doesn't always happen on the phone call. Sometimes you can overcome objections in the beginning of the buying process, because objections can come up anytime throughout the sales process, from when you're marketing all the way to, getting on that sales call and trying to negotiate and close that deal. So this is what I like to talk to my clients about, is really objections are really just questions, essentially. They're not anything to be afraid of. I know sometimes when you pitch what you're offering and someone gives you an objection, it can almost feel nerve-wracking to, in essence, not be able to sell someone on the spot. You think, oh no, they have questions. Does that mean that they're not going to buy? Actually, objections are a really good way to see a buying signal, because they act as a buying signal. Because if they didn't have any objections, they'd probably just say no, like flat no. But if they're asking you questions or saying things like, I don't know if I have the money, or I need to talk to my partner first, or I don't know if I have the time, that's not a flat no, right? If right away they're saying no, then there could be a case of that. But if they're giving you some sort of excuse, which would be an objection, or some sort of stall that they're doing, then it's almost good news. You actually want to be thankful that you get an objection rather than a straight up no to what you're selling. So let me give you these 5 tips. I actually went a little bit more than 5. I think I wrote down 9 things here on my paper. So the first thing you want to do is when you get an objection, the first thing you want to do is, after you promote something on marketing and then you get someone on a call and you've done your pitch and you've answered a lot of their questions and you're ready really to find out if they're ready to take that next step with you, you could easily say, hey, you want to take the next step? How does this sound, right? There could be different ways that you can ask for this sale and different closing sequences and things that you could actually say. And that is when usually the objection would come up, right? When you're getting close to the end. And I mean, sometimes there could be objections beforehand, but hopefully you'll be able to answer those in advance. So once you get to that point where you're like, okay, I want to know, and you ask the price, you tell them the price. Usually what I tell people is, after you say the price, you want to be quiet, and then their objection comes out. So instead of saying the price and then going on, you say the price, and then you leave that space for them to actually think about the price and then answer you, right? And so sometimes they might answer you yes right away, or when you say the price, they might have something called a knee-jerk objection, where it's something automatic. It's almost like an emotional thing where they're like, ooh, that sounds like pricey, or I'm not sure, ooh, I don't know. And that, as soon as you say the price to something, that's when people's nerves get a little bit like, oh, I don't know, now this is real now, right? So when you say the price, during the sales call, you're having a conversation, maybe you're negotiating, maybe you're talking things through, but as soon as you say the price, that's when things get real for your buyer. And so you want to realize that it doesn't mean that you haven't done good work in advance of having a conversation and really presenting what you're offering. But as soon as you say the price, that is when their wheels are actually turning to answer and figure out, oh, do I really want to get this? And so that's why after the price, you're just normally probably going to hear an objection, unless you've done a really good job at the front end and that person's really bought in. So what do? If you say the price and you pause and you let them speak next, right? Always pause and wait for them to speak. And their objection could be, ooh, that seems expensive, or I don't know if I have the money, and whatever it is, right? I need to talk to my partner. Oh, I don't know if I have the time for this, right? These are all things that are called knee-jerk objections, where it's just the first thing that they really think about. That's almost like an excuse, and they kind of want you to overcome that for them. They want to feel that they can trust you, and so when you hear one of these first few objections, like probably the first couple, 3 objections, it could be the first one or the second one, you really want to know that they're just saying something that is coming to mind, and they want you to help them through the buying process to make sure that you're soothing themselves and soothing them and making sure that this is a good purchase for them, right? Because now that things are getting serious, they want to make sure that you're there all the way with them. Just like when you're handling objections, if you're able to handle objections with someone, then they're going to feel confident to buy with you. But if you get nervous and when they say an objection and you you feel ruffled or you feel nervous and they can sense that from you, then they're going to be wondering, oh, I wonder why they're feeling this way. So the first thing you want to do after you say the price and then you stop and you let them speak and they say an objection is, after their objection, any type of objection that they give you, you want to pause, you want to relax, and you want to slow down so you can actually think about what they're saying. So if they say, oh, it feels expensive, or I'm not sure if I have the money, instead of just jumping on it and asking a question straight up, because a lot of people talk about when you're handling objections, asking a question, which is 100% true. But I always tell people, take that pause and that reflection time before you jump on their answer, right? Because then they're gonna feel like you're like, oh, wait, I got something great for you, right? They want you to take in that thought. They want you to take in what they're saying. And so I want you to reflect and pause. And you wanna be relaxed. So if they say, oh, I don't know, it costs a lot of money, I'm not sure, you just pause, you take a breath. And then from there, you actually slow down. And you, instead of saying a question right away, one of the things that I recommend is empathizing, right? And say, and telling that you hear what they're saying. So instead of saying, oh, how come you're thinking it's too much money, and saying it really quick, you would pause and say, okay, I'm hearing you. I'm curious, like I totally hear what you're saying there, right? So you would give them something back in terms of reflecting on what they're saying. So like in a sense that you're hearing them, that you're empathizing with them. Say, oh, I totally get what you're saying. I totally hear what you're saying. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Or, I mean, actually, I don't think I'd say that makes sense with the, the price. I would probably say like, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. So what it sounds like is the price is expensive, right? And then from there, whatever it is, you would empathize. And then from there, you would ask the question, right? So answer your objections by really taking that pause, taking that slow motion. And usually what I have in advance, which I didn't put on this paper right here, but for different objections, I actually have pre-written answers so that I'm not really stumped when an objection comes up. And this could be a cheat sheet that you have by your desk or by your phone or wherever you are, so that when you are at that objection handling part of the conversation, that you could easily look at the sheet. And if someone says, oh, it's too much money, you can kind of look over at your page and say, what would be a good way to answer that? And so that you're not thinking on the spot. I mean, you can think on the spot, and sometimes when you've done this long enough, you can really come up with that answer, because it's basically asking them why. Why did they think that, right? And so I totally hear you. I hear, oh, I totally get it. There's a method that's called the feel, felt, found method, which is something that you can remember anytime you're handling an objection. So you take that pause and then you want to say, oh, I totally hear what you're saying, or I totally, I know how you feel, right? So I know how you feel, and then you can give an example, right? So-and-so also said that they thought it was expensive. However, what they felt was, and then they felt that once they made that investment, they got their money back, or once they made that investment, they 2 times their investment back, or whatever it is, right? It depends on what you're selling. So the feel, felt, found method works in the way that you are empathizing by saying, I hear what you're saying. I feel for you, right? I feel that I also know someone that else has gone through that. Oh, I also, so for instance, I sell coaching, right? And so someone might say, ooh, that seems pricey to me. And I say, I totally get where you're coming from. Well, I would take a pause first before I go into it. And if they say, ooh, it seems pricey, I would take a pause and I say, you know what, I actually totally know where you're coming from. Or I actually felt the same way about coaching before I got my own coach. And so I get it. For me, I know what you're saying. It seems like, wow, that's a big investment. And so I felt exactly the same as you. But what I found was that when I did get a coach and get that one-on-one support, it really amped up my business and gave me that consistency and accountability that I really needed. And so does that sound true to you, or does that make sense to you, right? And then from there, they can answer again and see, does that ease themselves? Another thing that I like to have is previous clients and testimonials and proof, so that when you are handling objections, you don't need to just use your own example. If you have other clients that have been through it, you can say, actually, you know what you just said right now is exactly what my client Sarah said when she first got started. She was really worried about the money and she wasn't sure how she was going to afford it and what she was going to do. But the way we worked with her is this, right? So that's what I also recommend, is when you're handling objections and when you're on a sales call, have those pieces of proof and those testimonials and those success stories by you, so that sometimes when someone comes up with an objection, and oftentimes the objections you get are going to be similar, they're going to be coming up over and over again. And so then you can see an example and reflect it if that example is similar to someone that you've already worked with, or even similar to yourself. Okay, number 2 is answering your objections before you get on a call. So this is something that I recommend people do in their social media posts and in their marketing content, is really to answer the objections beforehand. So think about when you're writing your marketing content, what are the types of things that people tend to come to you for objections when they're maybe about to purchase from you, and can you answer those objections in your content? So for instance, if someone is worried about it being technical or difficult, maybe you put the word easy or simple in your content. Another thing is, I mentioned where a lot of times when I would do phone sales, I would like to have the proof and testimonials on me when I'm handling objections, because I can say, hey, this is an example of someone that maybe had the same type of objections or questions as you, and this is how we were able to overcome them. The same thing in your content and in your social media posts. You want to have that social proof. You want to have those testimonials and put that out in your content, so that people can read that in advance and they'll think that Me Too moment, that, oh, wait a second, that sounds like me, right? That person that she's talking about in her social media content, that reminds me of me. I went through that situation. And that's really going to help you when you're selling before you get on the phone, is having that social proof and those testimonials and those success stories in your actual marketing copy. And that might actually sell you before you get on the phone with someone, because they'll see all these examples of people that maybe are similar to you or to them, and they will be able to almost like overcome those objections in their head before they even get on the phone with you. So it really helps you qualify people in advance. Another thing that I recommend is, if you're selling a product or service that is high ticket, is to qualify them in advance that you get on the phone with them, and this will help you not have as many objections. So there's 2 ways to do this. Number 1 is you can have the price on your sales page. I do recommend that. A lot of people come to me and say, should I put my price on my sales page? Should I not? I recommend you do, because if you don't have your price on your sales page and someone has no actual clue how much what you're selling is going to cost, and they come onto the phone brand new, absolutely cold, no relationship, and you just say a huge number, that's going to be jolting for them. Now, I know a lot of people say don't say the price online or don't put it on your sales page because it might, when you get them on the phone, you can just sell them on the phone, right? And if it's a big price, people might be persuaded not to get on the phone with you because it seems so high ticket. I totally disagree. I think that having that price point on the sales page or in your marketing collateral is 100% key to helping you qualify the people that are really ready to buy right now, or they're close to buying, so that they kind of have an idea of the price and they may get on the phone with you thinking, ooh, it's a little bit pricey, but you know what? I'm going to get on a call with her because she's probably going to be able to help me answer those questions I have and almost get me over that fence. So even if they're not quite sold on the price point yet, if you have it on your collateral, if you have it on your sales page, even if you have it on a questionnaire before they get on the phone with you, it's going to be so much easier for them to feel that trust with you and to almost get them over the fence versus sticker shock, right? If they get on the phone with you and they have no clue how much things are going to cost, it's a huge jump to have maybe a 30-minute or 60-minute conversation and then drop them with this big price. I had that happen to me once where I was looking for someone to help me with Facebook ads. And so I saw a Facebook ad, and then I messaged them and they said, let's get on the phone, right? And I was looking on their website and I was looking on social media and all over places saying, and I asked them, how much does it cost? And they said, oh, just get on the phone with me. Just get on the phone with me. So I said, okay. So what I had done in my head is I had looked around the marketplace at what I really thought it would cost to get the service that I wanted done. So I had a certain price in my head. I thought it was like maybe, at the time, I thought it was maybe $699 or $700. I thought max it would cost $1,000, right? At that time when I was asking for it. I'm like, okay, well, they're not telling me the price, but I was looking around, it's probably this amount. When I got on the phone with them, they actually, it was like 10 times the amount. It was like, I couldn't believe it. And so I was like in sticker shock. Even though they had a great conversation with me and it was a good discovery call, I knew that they were going to, they wanted to know all my information. They were asking all the right sales questions, but it was almost like they were holding back the price, and it was a little bit suspicious for me. And by the time they told me the price, it was like, I knew it was like a sales strategy for them to just get me on the phone. And then like, they thought they would do such a good job of selling me on the phone that I would like, it wouldn't matter how much it costs. So that's why I really recommend this. Okay. So that's number 2, is make sure you answer your objections in advance in your social media, as well as say on your sales pages and in your questionnaire. Number 3 is you want to really speak slowly and you want to be calm when you are handling those objections. So I kind of talked about that in the first point, where you want to pause and relax and slow down when you're answering the question. But I just want to reiterate that sometimes what happens is during a sales call, we have a specific way of speaking. And there's something that happens to newer people in sales where near the end of the call, it's almost like they speed it up, that they want to get the sale over and done with. And so the beginning of the call, they're talking normally, they're mimicking that person on the call, or mirroring. Another way to say it is mirroring. When if someone has a specific pace, you might want to match that pace. That's a sales technique to really help you get on the same page with that person. But then when you're, if you ask the questions and you're starting like, okay, like I know I'm gonna have to close the sale. And what happens is sometimes people get like a little bit more hyped up, nervous energy, and that makes them speak faster. So they're like, oh, okay, like now I'm gonna, all right, like how's it going? And it just like amps it up, and someone can tell that energy shift. So I really want you to understand that your energy is everything when you're selling, and to just monitor that and be aware that your heart might pump a little bit more when you're saying the price, or you're getting near the end of the call and you're worried, oh, are they gonna say yes or no, right? Let all of that go. Don't stress about the sale. Don't worry if they're going to say yes or no. Your only job is to make sure that they have all the information to make that decision for themselves, right? It's not to worry about whether they're going to buy from you or not. It's just to make sure that you are being clear with the information that you're delivering, and that you're answering all the questions that they have in the best way that you can. Number 4 is ask open-ended questions. So this is something that you want to make sure that you're doing after they do the objection is, instead of saying, if someone said it's too much money, and let me think of a closed question. Say you said, is $500 too much for you? Like that would be like a no or yes, right? So you might want to ask something more open, where they can explain themselves. So say, you could say something like, oh, what were you thinking of spending? Right? And then they can give you more of a answer, right? And so you want to make sure that any kind of questions that you're asking when you're overcoming objections are really open-ended questions that are really getting you to become clear about why they're saying not sure, or why they're having these questions about before they're able to buy. Okay, number 5 is to clarify what someone is telling you, so you know the real objection behind the objection. I mentioned that there's something called knee-jerk objections, that when someone immediately is heard the price, they kind of like make an excuse, or not always, but oftentimes a knee-jerk objection is the first couple of objections that people say in the sales conversation. And so you want to make sure that you realize that these first couple of objections are just like a lower layer of an objection before you get to the deeper reason, right? Someone could say it's too much money, but really what is the deeper reason? Is it that they're not valuing it? Maybe they don't have enough information to make that decision yet, right? Maybe they don't really have that trust built up with you or your program. So there are always going to be those knee-jerk objections that you don't really know the information. So if someone's saying it's too much money, well, you need to know more about that. Is it because they don't have any money right now? Is it because the timing is not right? Do they literally not have any money, or they don't have any money for what you're offering, right? I mean, if someone says, oh, it's too much money, or don't have the money, you don't want to obviously think that they actually have no money at all. Oftentimes people do have money, and they do have money to spend on things, but they're not valuing what you're offering because maybe you haven't presented it in the right way, or maybe they're just not ready, or they're not sure, and it's up to you to overcome those objections. And so just know that when someone says, well, I don't know if I have the money, or it seems too much for me, you have to figure out, well, why is this too much, right? You have to figure out, when you say it's too much, what we're expecting to spend, or what do you know, when someone says it's too much, I say, what are you comparing it to, right? If I'm selling coaching, I know that my coaching rates are actually industry standard, and some of them are actually lower. And so I want to know, what are they comparing that to? Maybe they've never even bought what I'm selling ever before. They've never bought the type of service that I sell. So of course they're not going to know what the price is, and of course they might think it's a high price if they haven't looked around the market. And so it's your job to figure out, okay, what are you comparing it to? How much is too much for you? And why, when you say you don't have the money, do you literally not have the money, or do you not have the money for this? Or if you did have the money, would this be something that you'd want to buy, right? So these are kind of things that you want to start looking deeper into to find out why, because when you go back to them, say you don't close them on this specific call or this conversation, you want to actually know the reason, so that when you follow up, you don't get the same objections, and you can go deeper and say, hey, I know that you said in a month you're going to be getting some more money coming in, and you wanted to invest, rather than if you had no idea when they'd be getting more money in, or no idea when they're ready to invest, you would just be like, okay, is it like, why is that a problem for them? Why is that an objection, right? Okay, the last one is to ask them to reiterate and confirm, right? So one of the things, you reiterate and confirm. So what I like to do is, just to make sure that I'm getting what they're saying, I like to sometimes reiterate what they're saying about their objection. So if someone says the objection, like it's too much money, and I might take that pause, and I might do the feel, felt, found method, where I know how you feel. Someone else felt the same, but what they found was this. But there's other methods that you can do for objection handling, and it might be simply asking them straight up and being blunt and saying, okay, I hear you. I hear that money is an issue for you. Is that correct? Is that... And you just like reiterate what they just said, right? Oh, so if someone said, oh, I don't really have the time. Okay, so are you saying you don't have the time right now for this program, or you don't have any time in your schedule at all to invest into coaching? So it really, it's all about, honestly, what it is about is asking the question that pops into your brain. That's how I handle objections most of the time. Yes, sometimes I have a cheat sheet for my objection handling, but the majority of the time, I just, whatever comes into my head, I actually say it out loud instead of being afraid to say what I'm thinking. Instead of them saying, I don't have the money, and me saying, oh, okay, and believing it, I actually want to know, okay, I hear you, but I know that you got on this call with me. I know that you're excited about this. Is it that right now is not the timing? What do you mean you don't have the money? Is it just that you don't have the money right now, or you don't have the money for this? You know, how much money do you have to spend on this type of product or service, right? Like, I literally will ask those kind of questions because you want to figure out what is their situation specifically that is holding them back from purchasing from you. Now, I just want to give you this one thing that I think is so important to remind yourself of is if they got on a call with you, then they are probably wanting to buy. That what you're selling is of interest to them. So it doesn't mean that they will never buy from you. It might mean that they just need a little bit more hand holding to get them over the fence. And the timing may not be right. It's not always going to be right, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad salesperson or you're handling the objections incorrectly. But I just want you to always remind yourself that you can always go deeper and ask another open-ended question to overcome an objection or to figure out what are they thinking, like what are they thinking. Anytime that you're unsure and you're in a phone conversation with someone and you feel like you're not really getting all the answers, that you feel like they're saying one-word answers, or you feel like they're saying things and you just don't really understand the detail, I really encourage you to ask those questions to go that deeper. And it doesn't mean you're nosy. It doesn't mean that they're going to be annoyed that you're prying. It really is to help them as a customer and help you as well to figure out, okay, I want to help you get past some of these limiting beliefs, because sometimes objections are limiting beliefs and you should coach them through it. Now, there are times when it is reality that they don't have the money at all, or the reality that they misjudged their time. But a lot of times when someone has objections, it's because there's limiting beliefs about what they're about to purchase, and they're scared and they want your reassurance. And so by you asking more and open-ended questions about the things that pop into your head about, okay, can you walk this through with me? I mean, you said that you're not sure about the money, but let's think this through. What, is it like, if we split up the payments, would it help you? Or is it that you don't have money this month? Are you going to be coming into money next month? I mean, I really do go deeper into the objections and figure out where are they exactly, because if they've got on a phone call with you, they do want to buy. They are interested in what you're selling. It doesn't mean they're like over the fence and 100% going to be sold, but it is up to you to really discover where they're at. And even if they aren't ready to buy, you're going to feel good if you follow the conversation through without getting nervous, and you follow the conversation through with asking as many questions as you can so you know exactly where they stand. So the next time that you follow up with them, you literally know their situation and you can talk about it, and you can say, hey, this is where we're at now. I know you wanted to call me to call you back in a month. How are things going? Do you feel like the budget is open now to do this purchase? So that's all I have for you today, the 5 objection handling techniques that you can try. I know they're quite general, but the idea is whenever you have an objection, think about, is this a knee-jerk objection? Is this the first thing, like they've just heard the price, they're, whoa, that I'm not ready to make that decision. And now the next thing is to really coach them through it and to ask them as many open-ended questions as you possibly can to really figure out where are they at seriously. And know that the first couple things that they answer are usually going to be those knee-jerk objections, those automatic things that they respond. And so it's your job to actually go deeper and figure out what is their actual situation. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.